Outside the Box Reviews, we are wrapping up Alien Week with a look at the Diamond Select Deluxe Minimates Queen set. And the Queen Alien here comes both with an Alien Warrior, Bishop, Chest Burster, and a few eggs. So very similarly packed to that Power Loader set, and obviously the perfect foil for that set. Plus, beyond just the Queen, which is new, we get Bishop that we haven't gotten in Minimate form before, although he's looking like he's seen some better days. But I was equally excited for this as I was for the Power Loader set, so let's not waste any more time and take a closer look. For accessories, once again we get 3 of the standard Minimate stands, just a clear piece of plastic with a peg on there. This works for pretty much everything in this set. It works for the face hugger, it actually has a little peg down there. Works for Bishop and the regular Alien Warrior, and it does work for the Queen, but she's pretty top heavy. I'm thinking about actually using 2 of these for her to see if that helps stabilize her more, but it fits in her foot. It just becomes a little awkward because she is such a big character. Also, just like the Power Loader set, we get 2 of the closed alien eggs and 1 open one. Closed eggs look good. There's a nice green paint to them. They're very lumpy looking, and we have the kind of sealed up top here. They're hollow on the bottom, but very effective for being what they are. Same kind of detail, same hollowness on the open one, but we can see the lips here are opened. There's kind of a top section here that's stopping you from putting anything inside of it. And then there's just good detail here on the petals of it where you can actually see through the membrane there. Really like the open eggs, and I'm glad now I have 2 of them as opposed to just 1. And I'm going to count it as an accessory even though it might be a figure on its own, but we get a little chest burster. Really cool. I like the very yellowy, brownish paint they put on this thing. With the little vicious fangs, little curled up arms, the head drooping back there. Very wormy looking body. We've gotten this before with the single packed figures, but I really dig it. The Alien Warrior we get in this set is very, very standard. This is about as classic as you can get with a Minimate. We have a closed mouth. You see the white teeth there, the biomechanical head. Everything's really just painted black on most of this figure. We have this added on chest piece that has the ribs, the big shoulder pauldrons. Then we have this tubes and spikes coming off the back. These are the full-length version as opposed to the cut-off version on the battle damage figure. The body underneath, we kind of have this silver-looking detail painted on the body to give it that biomechanical Giger look. There's some on the arms and some on the torso as well. The hands are the standard Minimate alien hand. We have the 5 fingers, the 2 clumped together on both sides and the thumb, and the blade piece that extends past the forearm. Legs continue on some of that biomechanical detailing painted right on the standard Minimate body. We have these big back-bent alien feet. We have the little toes down there, the kind of strangely shaped boots. And then coming off this extra chest piece that has all that detail there, we get the tail that comes down and then loops around to a little spike there at the end. We also get Bishop, and this is the first time we've gotten Bishop in the Minimates line. I don't even think he's in Series 2 of the Alien Minimates. So we don't have a clean version of Bishop so far. I kind of do hope we get one down the line. But this version is definitely covered in the yogurty, milky android blood. The head paint is pretty good. I feel like it actually does have a passing resemblance to Lance Henriksen, which is definitely cool. Kind of a bland facial expression. We've got some more of his blood in his own hair. Coming down the torso, we have his blue jumpsuit painted on his blocky body. More of that blood coming down over his arms. Nothing really on the back here. We have his watch there on his wrist. And then we have his android guts and the exploded piece in the middle there sticking out, which I really like. They put this extra little piece that pegs in where his legs would go. That gives him some great detail. I feel like a little black wash over top of this would have really helped highlight all the android guts sticking out. So we don't get that. And then if you do lay him down on the ground, it feels like you should be able to lay him down at an angle where this lays flat along with him, but we don't have that either. So you could kind of just choose to prop him up on his own elbows or something to meet that angle and look a little more realistic. However, we can pop this lower torso section off, and we could pop on the rest of his legs. Now this seems a little unnecessary in this configuration. We'll get into why we really have this in a few minutes, but you can see a little more detail there on his jumpsuit now that we've taken away the other piece. The blood continues down to his lower torso as well. You get some good detail there on his pants, all the zippers and pockets, and then his shoes down there at the bottom. I do hope eventually we get a standard Bishop with all this crap not on him and maybe a different facial expression. That would be really cool. And on to the big girl herself. Here we have the Queen, and this figure really impresses me in that it still uses the very standard Minimate body inside of all of this extra crap that makes it a gigantic, gigantic piece. Up here at the head, we have some really nice details. She has an open mouth, all of her little white teeth. Good detail going through the crown there. Looks very movie accurate for being a Minimate, even detailed out on the bottom. Then we basically basically move into a gigantic chest piece over the standard Minimate body that contains this large neck with a lot of biomechanical detail, these big shoulder pauldrons, huge queen spikes coming off of her back that look very good. It also has that spine going on there. Around the front, we can see it makes her chest with the 2 extra arms sticking out of it. She does have the standard Minimate arms, and they are painted up. It looks like the same arms you get on the standard Xenomorphs, but we're given an extra piece of armor that slides up over the upper arm that gives her a more queenish, weird look. Also, her hands, for lack of a better term, are much longer than the standard alien hands, much more complex, with 6 fingers on them, looking very cool, with the claws there painted at the end. And that even does kind of have a little bit of that arm blade going on there. Very cool. I love the biomechanical detail they've sculpted in here. And coming down, they did put a little extender joint there in the waist that just kind of spaces out a little more. But then, I said the legs are standard, and I think the length of them is standard, but there is sculpted detail here that's not standard. We have this high hip bone that's part of the Queen's design coming up here that's sculpted right onto the upper leg. The lower leg section looks very standard, and then we get these very large added legs, which to me is kind of a problem with the Queen. It makes her a little unstable, and they're very heavy, so they do tend to fall out, but there's really no better way to do this on a Minimate, and they look really nice. They did a really good job of capturing those Queen high-heeled feet in just a spectacular fashion. Now, coming back here to the back of the Queen, we have her tail. It starts off very wide here at the back, then it kind of tapers down, and then swings around to the spiked end, but we actually get a second tail. We can detach this piece here, and we can attach in a specialized tail. The plus side is the way the spine's sculpted. You can kind of have it facing whatever direction you want, so it doesn't really break up the sculpt when you articulate it too much. And it loops around, and we can see there's an added section here in the middle of the tail. And, well, we just looked at the Bishop figure, so this should be looking very familiar. Got some of that android blood on either side there. And we get my favorite feature of the set. You could take our Bishop figure, and you could slide the lower torso through part of it, and then slide the upper torso on to hold it in place. And now we can have the Queen impaling Bishop, and it's a great effect. Something you can only really do with a Minimate, I feel, but it came out phenomenal. I love how that looks, and yeah, absolutely love it. For articulation, the alien warrior has a ball joint at the base of his neck, so you can look down, look up, swivel side to side as well as tilt. Ball joint and shoulder, so they will go forward, back, out to the side a little bit, hinge, and then we have a rotation there at the wrist. We have a swivel joint there at the waist. Ball joints at the hips, they'll go forward, back, as well as out to the side. We have a bend at the knee. We have a swivel at the little back bent foot there. And then with the tail, we get a swivel up at the top where it connects to the chest piece, and then a swivel a little lower down. Bishop has a ball joint at the base of the neck, so you can look up, down, turn his head left and right, swivel, pivot, all that good stuff. Ball joint shoulders, forward, back, out to the side. Bend at the elbow, and rotate there at the wrist. Swivel at the waist when he has his legs on. When he doesn't have his legs on, or when he's stuck on the Queen, you don't get that waist swivel. And the legs themselves have ball joints at the hips, forward, back, out to the side, bend at the knee, and swivel at the foot. The Queen has a ball joint at the base of her head, so she'll look very far up, very far down, turn her head side to side as well as pivot. The arms are on ball joints, so they go in and out, forward and back, bend at the elbow, and swivel at that very long wrist. The little arms up front don't do anything. They're a static piece of the figure. Going down to the body, we get some very interesting articulation. As I mentioned before, this is the standard Minimate body underneath, and we actually get a slight bit of pivot at the head of the body. You can move the rest of the body kind of up and down within that torso piece, just using the ball joint that would be the head of a normal Minimate. We do get a swivel at the waist, ball jointed legs, so they'll go forward, back, a little out to the side, kind of hindered because of the big hips on it. We get a bend at the knee there, though once again a little limited because of the way the legs are shaped. And then we can't really rotate at the top of the foot here just because of how it's sculpted. On the back, the tail will swivel where it connects to the body, and that's the same on both versions. The non-Bishop tail will swivel here at a joint a little lower down. The Bishop tail doesn't really have a joint there at the back, but you can actually unpeg the damage section and kind of rotate it, so you could have it kind of fit in one of 4 positions within the tail itself. So that's kind of articulation, but not really. And overall, I really like this set. Looking at them side by side here, you can see it's not really super to scale. The Queen should be quite a bit bigger than she actually is, but using the constraints of a Minimate, which is something I always find entertaining about Minimate sets, is that you kind of have the rule that you have this Minimate body and Minimate parts, and you're going to use them to create all these kind of cool, crazy things. I really don't mind the Queen might be a little small because it's cool to see the engineering feat they put into it. She does have some issues. Her legs fall off really easily. She's kind of a jumbled mess at times just because she has a lot going on in a very small space. But I love the gimmick of having Bishop stabbed through the chest. I love that she comes with the extra accessories, the extra warrior, the eggs, the chest burster, even though the chest burster really is not scene specific to this part of the film. But it makes me very happy that we can now have Ripley facing off against the Queen in a power loader in Minimate form. And I just love what Minimates can do with sets like these. It's unlikely NECA will ever be able to give us the full cast of aliens because of likeness rights, and it's just going to be expensive to do characters that the majority of people aren't going to buy. But when it's a Minimate and you don't need likeness rights, and you could really get away with using a lot of the same parts over and over, I think they've knocked it out of the park with this line. I'm hoping there's at least one more set or something that will give us a clean Bishop, and I don't really know what there would be, because a clean version of Bishop I think is the only thing we're missing at this point, but hopefully they'll find a way to get it to us. This set gets a solid recommendation, and this wraps up Aliens Week. It's been fun doing both NECA and Minimates for it, and I look forward to my next opportunity to dive into either line. So in the meantime, follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been our Outside the Box Reviews. Game over, man! Game over!